The boy stood alone behind the stage curtain, clutching the number tag pinned to his worn-out shirt as if it were the only thing anchoring him to the ground. The bright lights on the other side leaked through the fabric, slicing the darkness into thin blades of gold. Every cheer, every laugh, every distant note of music made his heart pound harder. He had waited years for this moment, yet now that it had arrived, fear wrapped itself around him tighter than hunger ever had. His name was Adam Miller, and tonight, everything he had ever been, and everything he could ever become, balanced on the edge of one breath. Adam came from a place most people passed without noticing. A neighborhood of cracked sidewalks, flickering streetlights, and homes that leaned tiredly into one another, as if sharing the burden of survival. His mother used to say that the walls listened, that they remembered every tear, every prayer whispered late at night. After his father passed away when Adam was just 9, those walls heard far too many prayers. His mother worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3, cleaning offices before sunrise and stocking shelves long after sunset. Adam learned early how to heat canned soup, how to fold laundry, and how to smile even when his stomach growled. But more than anything else, Adam learned how to sing. He didn't know when it started. Maybe it was the lullabies his mother sang when the power went out and darkness filled their tiny apartment. Maybe it was the old radio his father left behind, still crackling with songs from another era. Or maybe singing was simply Adam's way of surviving, of turning pain into something that didn't hurt quite as much. When he sang, the noise of the world softened. The worries quieted. For a few moments, he was free. School wasn't easy. His clothes were old, his shoes were scuffed, and the other kids noticed. Some laughed. Some whispered. A few were kind, but kindness didn't always stick. Adam kept his head down, did his work, and went home. He never talked about his dreams because dreams felt dangerous, fragile things that could shatter with one careless word. But at night, when his mother finally came home exhausted and fell asleep on the couch, Adam would sit by the window and sing softly, imagining a future where his voice could carry them both somewhere better. The audition was something he almost didn't attend. The entry form alone felt like a barrier, the lines too neat, the instructions too formal. But his music teacher, Mrs. Thompson, had heard him sing during a school assembly. She saw the way the room changed when Adam opened his mouth, how even the restless students stilled. She pulled him aside afterward, looked him straight in the eyes, and said, "Your voice matters. Don't let the world convince you otherwise." She helped him fill out the form, paid the entry fee herself, and even found him a clean shirt to wear. "Just promise me you'll sing like you always do," she said. Not to impress anyone, just to tell the truth. And now, standing backstage, Adam wondered if truth was enough. He peeked through the curtain and saw the judges, famous faces he'd only ever seen on TV. They looked confident, polished, powerful. The audience stretched far beyond them, a sea of strangers waiting to be moved, entertained, surprised. Adam's legs trembled. He thought of his mother, who couldn't be there because she was working the night shift. He thought of the overdue bills taped to the fridge. He thought of every night he'd gone to sleep hungry. Then he closed his eyes and remembered why he was here. When his number was called, Adam stepped onto the stage. The lights were blinding at first, washing the crowd into a blur. He felt small, painfully aware of his thin frame and nervous hands. A few murmurs rippled through the audience. The judges smiled politely, the kind of smile that didn't expect much. One of them leaned forward and asked his name. "Adam," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "And what will you be singing today?" Another judge asked. Adam swallowed hard. "A song I wrote," he replied. The judges exchanged quick glances. Original songs were risky. The room grew quieter. The first note came out shaky, trembling with fear. Adam felt panic rise in his chest. But then something shifted. He remembered the nights by the window, the darkness, the radio, his mother's tired smile. He sang about empty kitchens and full hearts. About watching his mother count coins and still find a way to laugh. About missing his father and learning to be strong too early. His voice grew steadier, richer, filled with an ache that couldn't be faked. The audience leaned in. The judges stopped taking notes. Halfway through the song, something unexpected happened. Adam's voice cracked, not from lack of skill, but from emotion. For a split second, he considered stopping. Then he did something no one expected. He kept going. He let the crack become part of the song, part of the story. Tears slid down his face, and he didn't wipe them away. He sang like someone who had nothing left to lose and everything to give. In the audience, a woman clutched her husband's hand, remembering her own childhood struggles. A man wiped his eyes, thinking of his son. Even the camera operators shifted uncomfortably, caught off guard by the rawness of it all. This wasn't just a performance. It was a confession, a prayer, a gift. When the final note faded, there was silence. A deep, heavy silence that seemed to stretch forever. Adam stood frozen, unsure of what he had done. Then one person stood. Then another. And another. Within seconds, the entire audience was on its feet. The applause was thunderous, overwhelming. Adam's knees buckled, and he covered his face, sobbing openly now. The judges were visibly shaken. One of them, known for being harsh and unemotional, cleared his throat before speaking. Adam, he said slowly, that wasn't just an audition. That was a moment. Another judge leaned forward, eyes shining. You broke every rule, she said. And in doing so, you broke every record we have for audience engagement. The third judge pressed a hand to his chest. You reminded us why we started doing this in the first place. But the most unexpected moment came when the head judge stood up and walked onto the stage. He placed a hand on Adam's shoulder and asked him about his life, his family, his dreams. Adam answered honestly, without embellishment. He spoke about his mother, her sacrifices, and how he wanted to give her a life where she didn't have to work herself into exhaustion. The judge turned to the audience. This, he said, voice thick with emotion, is why talent matters. Not because of fame or money, but because it can change lives. That night, Adam didn't just advance to the next round. The judges unanimously awarded him a special honor, one that had only been given a handful of times in the show's history. His audition broke viewership records within hours of airing. Social media exploded with messages of support, stories from people who saw themselves in Adam's song. Donations poured in for music programs in underfunded schools. Mrs. Thompson watched the broadcast from her living room, tears streaming down her face, knowing she had done the right thing. When Adam finally went home, long after midnight, he found his mother sitting at the kitchen table, eyes red from crying. She had watched the audition on her phone during her break. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Then she pulled him into her arms, holding him as if she might never let go. I'm so proud of you, she whispered. Not because you won something, but because you stayed true to who you are. In the weeks that followed, Adam's life changed in ways he never imagined. He was invited to sing at events, to speak at schools, to share his story. But he never forgot where he came from. He used his platform to talk about kindness, about listening to voices that often go unheard. He helped raise funds for families like his own, for kids who sang by their windows at night, dreaming of something more. Adam didn't just break records that night. He broke barriers. He reminded millions of people that greatness doesn't come from perfection, but from honesty. That compassion can be louder than applause. And that sometimes, the most powerful voices come from the quietest places. Years later, when asked what he remembered most about that first audition, Adam smiled softly. I remember being scared, he said. And then I remember realizing that my fear didn't matter as much as my truth. He paused, thinking of the boy he used to be. If my story gives even one person hope, he added, then every hard moment was worth it. And somewhere, in neighborhoods just like the one Adam grew up in, other children sing into the night, holding on to hope. Because one poor boy stepped onto a stage, sang his heart out, and showed the world that humanity, kindness, and courage still have the power to change everything.